All right, what's up, everybody? Cinephile Mike is here, and it is episode 26 of Oscar Rewind Season 2, my bi-weekly series of videos dropping every Tuesday and Friday, where I revisit films that reflect the work of this past year's Oscar nominees and winners. I dig deep into those IMDb profiles, and my hope is that you will discover a new, older favorite or revisit something you maybe haven't seen in a while. As always, I'll be discussing the Oscar connection, awards history for the film, box office information, critical response, and as always, these reviews are spoiler free. Now, before we jump in, do me a favor, click that subscribe button. You definitely don't want to miss any of the cinematic goodness that's going to be coming your way. So, we are in June, and it is Director Month. Second day episode in June. We're looking at the remaining directors who are nominated for the Best Director Oscar that I haven't gotten to yet. I've already gotten to Sean Baker twice. And also looking at those directors who directed nominated features and shorts, be they animated, live action, or documentary. Today, I have selected to discuss Cinema Management Group's 2019 animated film, Away. The film had a small international release in 2020 after the 2019 festival circuit overseas, not here, and as a result, the box office is small. $7,367, which makes up the international and worldwide total. Now, it is very possible that the pandemic, like many other films, threw this film into the ether, which is probably why we didn't hear too much about it here. However, it was released overseas this year after the success of the next film that would come from this writer-director, Flow, which took the Best Animated Feature Prize and was also a Best International Feature nominee. Now, Away was written, directed, produced, animated, edited, and composed, all by newly minted Oscar winner Gints Zilbalodis. On Flow, Zilbalodis served as a director and one of the three writers. Critically, on Rotten Tomatoes, for the first time this season, I believe, with 34 critical reviews, Away has a 100% critical rating and over 50 audience reviews, which give the film a 61%. So that's quite an interesting disparity of almost 40% here. We'll take a look at that. Now, award season wise, Away won the top prize of Best Film at the Annecy International Animated Film Festival in 2019, Best Animated Feature Film at the Latvian National Film Festival, and the Best Animated Feature Prize at the Strasbourg European Fantastic Film Festival, which also nominated Away for Best European Fantastic Feature Film. The Vilnius International Film Festival nominated Away for Best Film, and it received one Annie nomination, not for Best Feature, but for Outstanding Achievement for Music in an Animated Feature Production. So what's this one about? Well, Away is the story of an unnamed teenage boy who wakes up to find himself in a desert hanging from a parachute that is caught in a tree. Now, in the distance approaches a large black, I guess we could just call him a creature, walking on two legs, a kind of unformed black mass on two legs. Now, this creature attempts to absorb the boy, but the boy is able to escape. He kind of learns as the being surrounds him that he's transparent, so he's able to kind of drop and get away. He runs into a cave where the creature seems to not be able to enter, but stands watch at the entrance as the boy explores this world inside. Now, inside, as he looks, he finds a motorcycle and also comes across a backpack filled with supplies, including a sleeping bag, a telescope, a compass, a canteen, and most importantly, a map that will guide him to a village on the other side of this island that he is on. Hopefully, find some civilization, some people. Now, while planning his next move, he befriends a young little yellow chick. Very cute. And after spending the night in the cave, the boy packs the bag and plans to escape. Now, the chick, encountering a flock of white birds coming by, tries to fly off to join them, but ends up getting absorbed by the creature. Now, testing fate twice, the boy runs into the monster, saves the chick, takes the bag, mounts the motorcycle, and sets off with the creature slowly in pursuit. Now, as the boy ventures to get away, we will see the creature absorb and kill any living being, any of the animals that it encounters in its path. And as the boy tries to go, he will encounter a variety of forest life that, ultimately does sadly become prey to our creature. Attempting to get away, they follow the path on the map, which takes him through a series of arches, each one leading him to a different terrain, a desert, a meadow, a lake, and eventually he comes to a man made bridge, a wooden bridge. Walking across the bridge with the bike and the chick carefully stored in his bag, he waits for the creature and pushes a boulder over, believing that he can, you know, defeat the monster, which he does. He drops the rock, the bridge explodes, the creature falls. And then he continues on his journey with the chick, who will eventually come across that same flight of birds and, go off to be with his own kind, their own kind, while the boy continues his journey. However, all will not continue to be smooth as the two, kind of hope, because some previous actions that they take may not have had the desired effect as they try to get away. Sorry, little pun there. I couldn't help myself. Look, as I stated, Zilbalodis did everything on this film, writing, directing, animating, music, producing, everything. And it was completely done with the 3D animation software Maya. Now, as with Flow, Away is a dialogue-free film that focuses on a central character who picks up a companion as they go across the lands and, strive for survival, strive for something else. Now, while the animation was not as stunning or quite as realistic as Flow, I would say it was quite impressive. How simple, bright colors were used that kind of harkened some Miyazaki influence. Maybe not necessarily in the style, but some of like the slow moving creatures, the journey across the lens. There's some kind of Miyazaki influence there. Also, Zilbalodis, uh, he doesn't rely too much on the score. I mean, it's there, but instead he really chooses to focus on as realistic a sound as he can capture. So, as we hear the boy cross on the motorcycle on his journey, we hear the grass crushing, the sand flying, the creaks of the wooden bridge when it's destroyed. And the simplicity is what is so gripping to watch the film because there's not a lot of stuff going on. And, it's the program is really incredible. I'm not as familiar with it, but to see these really smooth, fluid, interesting camera angles to tell this story, those were nice. My frustration, I will say, this film, not quite as perfect as, what we've had last year, is the story. Given the fact that it's dialogue free, and I'm okay with that, it takes a bit too long to uncover why this boy is on this journey. And when we start to get some of those glimpses, they're not fully earned or fully explained, so it gets a little bit frustrating. Also, this creature that he's running from, if you're attempting to ground the story in a little bit of reality, this is a little bit too fantasy or supernatural. So it's not quite clear what um Zilbalodis is trying to get across. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I mean, he accomplished a lot taking this on himself. It was a 3-year project. He was, I believe, 25 at the time when he did this film. So, kudos. This was a brief 74-minute film that had a story to tell. It has a beginning, a middle. There's an ending and a climax that's maybe a little too Mission Impossible adjacent for me. That, kind of took me out of it for a second. But look, there is something here. And, because this film is so short, it's dialogue free, I don't really want to spoil too much. So, like the other day with the Grand Day Inn, a short review for a short movie. So, where does my rating fall? Am I with the rest of my fellow critics and I'm at 100%? Am I with the audience where I'm at a 60? Well, even though there's some story issues, I'm not going to lie and say that there aren't. What he did technically with this film really makes it important to watch. So I'm literally going to fall in between, which I guess you could say it would be an 80. I'm giving it a 4 out of my, normal 5 stars. So that's an 80%. So I'm right between my critics and the audience. um, but look, between this and what he also accomplished with his team with Flow, really makes Zilbalodis an interesting voice to keep an eye on. I'm excited to see what comes next. So if you would like to see Away, if you haven't caught it yet, it is currently streaming on Prime. Although I have to be honest, I'm not quite sure how much longer it's going to be there. I believe I noticed that it said it may be leaving the platform soon. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. All right. So we're going to keep moving along with Director Month. Hope you enjoyed this second entry. As always, if you like what you heard here, please click that subscribe button, like the video, share the video, join the conversation, spread the word. You can follow me, Cinephile Mike, on all social media platforms and on Letterboxd. Find lots of great additional cinematic content on my website, cinephilemike.com. including my coverage of the currently occurring, yeah, I said that, Tribeca Film Festival. All right, everyone. Happy watching, and until next time, this is Cinephile Mike saying take a break and watch something new.